At sunrise, you push a wooden boat from Sicily. There is no sail above you. No compass sits in your hand. And Malta is somewhere beyond the horizon. The crossing ahead measures roughly 60 miles. That is about 100 kilometers of open water. You cannot see the island yet. Soon you cannot see Sicily either. Only waves remain. Salt dries across your face. The boat rises and falls beneath you. Every paddle stroke pulls you farther from land. So why would anyone attempt this 80,500 years ago? For most of the last century, the answer seemed simple. They did not. Europe's final hunter-gatherers were supposed to hug coastlines. Small islands were considered unreachable. Remote islands were considered unlivable. That story felt reasonable. Stone Age boats left almost no trace. Wood rots, fiber disappears, paddles vanish into mud. The sea erases evidence better than almost anything. But one Maltese cave kept a different record. Its name is Latanesia. You pronounce it Latnia. It sits in northern Malta. The cave overlooks channels of blue water. Freshwater sources lie nearby. Rocky shores sit within walking distance. For thousands of years, wind carried dust inside. People added ash, shells, tools, and bones, layer by layer, meal by meal, fire by fire. In 2025, Eleanor Scarry and her colleagues published the evidence. Their study appeared in Nature. The team included James Blinkhorn and Hu Gru-Kut. It also included Maltese archaeologist Nicholas Vella. They had excavated Latnesia between 2021 and 2023. The central trench measured 5 meters by 5 meters. That sounds small. The evidence inside was not. The researchers found hearths. They found thick layers of ash. They found butchered animal bones. They found cooked shells. They found 64 stone artifacts. Most were made from local limestone. One was made from chert. These were not objects washed in by the sea. They belonged to people living there. Radiocarbon dates made the discovery even stranger. The earliest occupation began around 8,500 years ago. It continued until roughly 7,500 years ago. That was before Malta's first known farmers, before the island's famous stoned temples, before metal tools, and before sailing technology reached the region. So how did these people arrive? Malta was once connected to Sicily. A broad land bridge existed during lower sea levels, but rising water drowned that bridge much earlier. By roughly 14,000 years ago, Malta was isolated. The Stone Age visitors arrived thousands of years later. They did not walk there. They crossed the sea. At that time, Malta looked much like today. The shortest straight route from Sicily was about 85 kilometers. Real voyages were probably longer. Currents do not care about straight lines. Neither does wind. The Nature study estimated a journey near 100 kilometers. That is roughly 62 miles. One continuous open water crossing. Not a chain of easy island hops. Not a beach disappearing around a headland. The horizon would swallow the departure coast. For hours, the destination would remain invisible. What kind of boat could survive that? No Mesolithic boat was found at Latnesia. That matters. The vessel is an informed reconstruction. The researchers considered dugout canoes the likely option. A dugout is exactly what it sounds like, a large log hollowed into a boat. Stone axes shape the outside. Fire can soften the interior. Adzes remove the charred wood. The result looks simple. Building one is not. The tree must be large enough. The hull must stay thick enough. The finished boat must remain balanced. Too heavy and it crawls. Too thin and it cracks. Too narrow and waves can roll it. This was not primitive driftwood. It was engineered wood. Experimental archaeology helps reveal its speed. That means rebuilding old technology and testing it. A replica Mediterranean dugout managed about 4 kilometers per hour. At that pace, 100 kilometers takes 25 hours. Currents could stretch the journey even longer. The 2025 Nature paper calculated something brutal. Even during the long summer days, darkness was unavoidable. A crew could face about 8 nighttime hours. 8 hours without a visible coastline. 8 hours ridding waves, stars, and wind. 8 hours with no rescue and no sail, only paddles, memory, and cooperation. Now place yourself inside that canoe. You begin before dawn. The hull carries several people. Water fills clay or skin containers. Food sits wrapped in plant fibers. Stone tools lie near the center. Everything must stay balanced. One paddler tires. Another takes over. The group watches the surface. A current can slide you sideways for miles. A wrong correction can erase hours of work. Seasickness drains strength. Sunlight burns exposed skin. Salt water enters every cut, then Sicily fades. This is the point of no return. How do you aim at an island you cannot see? You do not navigate like a modern sailor. You carry no numbered map. You carry patterns. The seasonal direction of winds, flight of paths of birds, the angle of sunrise, the position of stars, the rhythm of swells. Knowledge lives inside people. That makes every experienced navigator precious. Lose one person, and the map may disappear. This is cultural memory, a technical phrase for knowledge stored socially. It survives through teaching. It dies through isolation. Near nightfall, the temperature falls. The water turns black. Each wave becomes a sound before it becomes a shape. Someone keeps the heading. Someone watches the stars. Someone removes water from the hull. Someone protects the food. The crew cannot stop being a crew. That may be the first hidden lesson. The boat is not the real technology. The group is. But reaching Malta creates another mystery. One successful voyage proves courage. It does not prove a lasting population. Perhaps one canoe arrived accidentally. Perhaps storms carried exhausted survivors south. Perhaps they landed once and never returned. That explanation remained possible in 2025. Then James Blinkhorn and his colleagues tested it. Their study appeared in PNAS Nexus in 2026. They asked a colder question. Could Malta support an isolated hunter-gatherer population? The team combined several kinds of evidence. Ancient sea levels showed Malta's changing size. Paleoclimate data reconstructed rainfall and temperature. Ethnographic records estimated hunter-gatherer population density. Ethnographic means observations from recent human societies. Those comparisons are imperfect, but they reveal ecological limits. The researchers also calculated net primary productivity. That phrase sounds complicated. It means how much plant energy an ecosystem produces. More plant energy supports more animals. More animals can support more people. Malta had limited land. Its climate was dry. Its wild resources were finite. The most generous model produced a startling ceiling. During the Mesolithic occupation, Malta could support 144 to 170 people. Other model choices produced even lower numbers. That sounds like a village. It was still not enough. Small populations face more than hunger. Births vary, deaths cluster, accidents remove skilled adults. Disease can strike several families together. Too few unrelated partners creates inbreeding. Useful knowledge can vanish with one death. A community may survive for decades. 1,000 years is different. Long-term viability requires a wider population network. The 2026 study discussed roughly 1,000 effective individuals. Effective population is another technical term. It means the breeding population preserving genetic diversity. The total living population would be larger. Malta could not hold that many mobile foragers. Not even close. So the people at Lotnija were not simply marooned. They were connected. This is the counterintuitive twist. The astonishing achievement was not one 60-mile voyage. It was the return journey, then another, then another. For roughly 1,000 years, the cave records continuity. Ecology demands contact. Together, those facts reveal a network. People crossed from Sicily to Malta repeatedly. Some may have visited seasonally. Some may have stayed for years. Some may have been born on Malta. Others may have married into groups across the water. People moved, stories moved, tools moved, genes moved, navigation knowledge moved too. The sea was not an empty barrier. It was a road without pavement. That changes the entire image. You are not watching reckless explorers disappear offshore. You are watching commuters inside a remembered world. Their route had no buoys, but it may have had familiar departure beaches. Known currents, seasonal windows, shared landing places, and people waiting at both ends. The Malta Channel still remained dangerous. Familiar does not mean safe. A sudden wind could destroy the plan. A damaged paddle could become fatal. One injured crew member changed the balance. Night navigation magnified every mistake. Yet repeated crossings transform risk. Experience identifies better months. Families remember bad currents. Crews learn how weight changes handling. Young paddlers train beside older ones. Failure becomes instruction. Survival becomes tradition. What did they find after landing? Lotnia answers with leftovers. Red deer were hunted and cooked. These were island deer. They were smaller than mainland relatives. Tortoises also entered the fires. Bird bones appeared too. Some belonged to large species now extinct. The inhabitants collected marine snails. They ate crabs and sea urchins. They caught fish, including grouper. They even used marine mammals. This was not a starving camp. It was a broad island diet. Land and sea both mattered. Yet the 2026 population model found something revealing. Marine foods could improve short-term survival. They could not solve long-term isolation. More shellfish cannot create new marriage partners. More fish cannot replace lost navigators. Calories keep bodies alive. Connections keep societies alive. That distinction is easy to miss. Modern life teaches you to picture survival individually. One person against nature. One genius building a boat. One brave explorer facing the horizon. But ancient survival rarely worked that way. A dugout required shared labor. A crossing required coordinated paddling. Navigation required inherited knowledge. A settlement required outside relationships. Even courage was collective. Nobody paddled 100 kilometers alone by accident. The people at Lotnia also changed Malta itself. For centuries, the island was treated as pristine before farming. Pristine means untouched by humans. The cave evidence destroys that picture. Hunter-gatherers used fire. They hunted endemic animals. They harvested coastal species. They shaped the landscape before farmers arrived. The first farmers did not enter an untouched island. They entered a human landscape. The previous people left no temples. They left no palace walls. They left ash, broken bones, shell heaps, simple stone flakes, and an invisible route across the sea. That invisibility explains why the discovery feels so new. Archaeology favors durable things. Stone survives. Wood usually does not. A temple announces itself. A canoe disappears. A road leaves a scar. A sea route leaves almost nothing. Unless people keep returning, then their destinations become archives. Lotnesia is one of those archives. Its ash preserved repeated meals. Its shells preserved dates. Its tools preserved daily work. Its animal bones preserved choices. And a population model revealed what those objects implied. Connection, not isolation. The last hunter-gatherers of Europe were not waiting passively. Farming societies were spreading nearby. Coastlines were changing. Communities were reorganizing. Malta may have offered seasonal resources. It may have offered safety. It may have held social meaning. The exact motivation remains unknown. That uncertainty matters. Evidence can show what happened. It cannot always reveal what people felt. Perhaps Malta promised food. Perhaps it promised family. Perhaps it promised distance from conflict. Perhaps the journey itself carried status. The honest answer is still open, but the ability is no longer doubtful. People crossed open sea before sails. They crossed farther than expected. They navigated through darkness. They returned often enough to sustain a millennium, and they did it with perishables technology. Technology that almost vanished from history. Tonight you can cross the Malta Channel differently. An engine pushes the hull. Satellite navigation fixes your position. Weather forecasts warn you days ahead. Lights mark the coast. A radio connects you to rescue crews. The ancient crossing had none of that. But those sailors possessed something familiar. A network larger than any single person. Knowledge shared across generations. Trust built through repeated journeys. A map carried in human memory. That is why they survived. Not because isolation made them stronger, because they refused to remain isolated. At sunrise, you push a wooden boat from Sicily. By nightfall, the world has disappeared, but you are not lost. Someone taught you the way.